Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to put together the Congrats Graduation Card SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here's how the card will basically look. I had a modification for the wiper, so it's like a little wiper card with a diploma that pops up when you open it. So this is what we're going to make. So first I'd like to do all the piecing first, just to get it all ready to assemble the card. So we're going to put together the hat, which is 2 layers. That bottom gray part will stick out at the bottom, so just make sure you have it situated well, correctly. So I always say dry fit it before you glue it on. So we're going to glue it on, and we know that it lines up to the top here. I'm just going to align it with my fingers to make sure that it aligns properly. And then we'll put that aside. And then here, we're going to put together the tassel. So it's 2 pieces. One piece has some slight cuts in it. So that's just so you can accent them to get the tassel look. And you can see it, I kind of moving it around a little bit. So it'll fit only one way. You want to make sure you glue it on the correct side. And I use textured paper, so I know the non-textured side is the correct side. Then we want to just fit it on here, and it just gives it dimension to put it on top rather than just cut it in one piece, because you could ink the edges. What I'm going to do is chalk it lightly, and I add a little black chalk from I use a little chalk, and just on my little Fantastics, which is just a little applicator, to be able to give it a little bit more dimension and see the lines. And if you had a small tool to do that with a distress ink or another type of ink, it would do the same thing, or you could use a pen. So now we're going to glue it to the little circle, the black circle for the top of the hat. Make sure it's where you want it before you place it down. And then we'll just add it to the center. I just eyeball the center. And you saw a little mark there because I already had glued it by accident, and I had to lift it up real quick. So next we'll work on the letters, so you can see that's how that goes. So what I like to do is I have this little background, and you kind of can see where things go. The G and the C are very obvious where they go, and the T, you'll see there's a little thing at the top here on that label. I kept it that way on purpose so you know where the T goes. I'm going to put little cut lines for everything, but this is a little tedious. If you did want to do, you could actually just take it off the mat if you wanted to use vinyl, but I usually dry fit it and then I glue it on. So I know where it goes, and then I just kind of eyeball it and take them off. So that's up to you how you want to do it. Some people might want to just use vinyl because vinyl is so popular these days, and you could just take it right off and in the shape, and it would just, you could just line it right over. So whatever your preference is. So I'm just speeding it up a little bit. This is not as fast as I did it, but my fine tip applicator does come in handy when I'm doing it manually this way, if you choose to do it with cardstock like I did. And I also didn't mention I already layered the stars. So there are 2 large stars and 1 small star, so just be aware there's a slight size difference. If you want to use all the same size, obviously you can just cut whatever sizes you want, or if you want more stars. Another technique I've seen with, I tried it once, wasn't very successful, but I guess there's press and seal some people use for cardstock to keep it in place, so you can just add glue and put it all down, and I'm sure you could look for YouTube videos, but just throwing that out. So now that's done, we're going to piece together the diploma and add it to the little pop-up, but you can see we have these stars done. So we don't want to do this yet. we're going to wait until we have it on the card. So if you're wondering why I didn't layer it, I want to get it set in place first before I add that top piece. And I'll be using a foam tape, so I don't want it to make it difficult to get it on the card. So I'm just inking with my little chalk ink, just to get the edges. It's just to visibly show the edges better, so you can see it gives it more dimension. Definitely not. It's an option, but it's completely optional. And that is symmetrical on both sides, so it doesn't matter how you put this on. I just want to make sure you know that. That's why I was flipping it around. So you just want to fit it on there. And then this little piece goes on the bottom, the one with the little ribbon. And it'll go on that, but first we have to get the little ribbons on. You see, it can go either way. But don't put it on yet. We want to put on glue the ribbon to the back. And then you're just going to kind of line it up best you can with the curve to the right on that little piece on the top. And if you are using textured paper, make sure that your texture is up. And this little top piece is just a little bit bigger than the bottom, but make sure you get that curve to the right. And you can kind of line it up from the back, or you can kind of visually do it line it up to the bottom part. This looked better than folding it. I did try folding it around there. So this is the little piece that'll pop up. So you can see how it folds backwards. You want to make sure you fold it good and well on that score, because it'll help it pop up better if it has a good crisp line of score, or fold I should say, crisp fold. So you want to fit that in the area here. Getting it ready to put on the card. So we're going to bring the card pieces out, show you how to fold them. So as you can see, that's the front of the card, so that's that little thing. We want to fold, usually what I do is fold down this way, like a mountain fold, and then fold backwards. And you want to get a really crisp edge on those scores. So you can see how it folds. And that's how it's going to go together. So you can see before we put it together. If you've seen the wiper cards before, it's just a variation of a wiper card. It's just easier to add the panels first, so let's add these blue panels. And I used it's called a Park Lane confetti embossing folder from, I believe Joann's makes it, Joann Fabrics. So you just want to center these in their little areas. And then there's one other little one. You could try to add little embellishments to those areas, but you have to be careful, because when you fold it, it is an A2 size card, and you want it to fit into the card. So you really don't want to go beyond, when you fold it, it needs not to jet out unless you're going to make your own envelope, a larger envelope. So now I'm going to put this on. I'm going to match up that top peak of the hat to the shape on the front of the card. And I find running my fingers along it and kind of pushing up to make sure it's aligned. So you can see on the left I'm a little bit off. So you can, if it's not glued down yet, you can go ahead and push it up. If not, I just use a little black chalk ink to cover that white if I don't like it. So that's where the congrats is going to go. A little lips hanging up there. So now we're going to get ready to add that front little diploma pop-up. So you see how we don't want to align the fold to the top. We want to align that left edge up to the part where it folds, the point of the fold, right to the left of that first fold. So we want it to, so I'll show you what it does. So you know it's in the right place. It's a bit confusing the first time you do it, but if you just watch where it's placed. So right there, we're going to just place it right there, right to the left of that fold. Just a little bit, just a smidgen. Don't go beyond it. You can go, you don't want to go beyond it because it won't glue right, and then it flips over like that. So we'll go ahead and add glue just to that little folded area to the front. So you can see how it's arranged in my hand. Then you're going to carefully place it here to the left, and you want to make sure that the corner of the top fold, like where the fold starts, right up there, make it get at the top, because if you don't put it far enough down, then it'll show. So that's the whole thing. So we're folding it over and applying pressure. So you can see it folds up like that. Just to give you an idea again, the pressure of that back piece pulls it up. So we're going to go pull it flat, just like that. And that'll be ready to put on the back. So this is how it goes. So you really want to make sure you have crisp edges. So first, before we do put the back piece, glue them together, we're going to put this panel in. So it has a score in this, and I would score the mountain fold and then go backwards. That's easier. And because it's embossed, it folds a little bit harder. So with the fold in the panel, just make sure that it's lays flat when you fold it. So when you glue it, I'm only going to glue the left piece first. I'm going to center it and align that panel fold to the fold in the card. So you kind of want to pull it up and align it prior to pushing down. We don't want to fold it first because what it'll do, it'll buckle. So that's why I'm doing only one side. How do I know? Because this happened to me many a time. So I'm just naturally letting it fall, and then you want to fold it over. Make sure it doesn't buckle, and it'll come apart if it does. So I'm just applying additional pressure, making sure it folds without buckling. Now we'll fold that back, and we're going to glue this front piece on. So we're going to start by just adding glue on this little side section on the back, on the right back. Just making sure the glue's nice and even. What's nice is once you get one side, the other side will glue on better. But the first side, you could open it up and do it, but I'm just trying to line up that edge to the back edge. And then apply a lot of pressure. You want to make sure it's good and secure before you glue the other side, because there's a little bit of pressure when you open it up. So you can go ahead, and I'm just doing additional rubbing so you can see it's coming together. So we're going to do the same thing, but on the back of the left side of the front. And this should line up really naturally, but you just want to kind of guide it to make sure that that edge meets the back edge. And then again, apply a lot of pressure. So you want to start applying pressure from the top, and then you can kind of reach in and apply pressure directly on that against the table, because we just don't want it pulling apart when you unfold it. So that extra step, if you just take a little time on that portion, then it'll work just fine. So now you can see it pops up. And then when you put it down, you kind of want to flip. You might have to flip it back a little bit. Once you do it a couple of times, if you've, like I said, if you've done a wiper card, this is familiar. It's just at a different angle. And then I'm going to just add a little chalk ink. Actually, this happens to be pigment ink, but I'm just making sure that white doesn't show around the black hat. But that's just a preference of mine. I didn't get it lined up just so it wasn't hiding the white behind it. I always say no mistakes. There's always a way to quote unquote fix something. Unless you glue the wrong part, which I've done many times, even just in these videos. So I'm just going to add a little foam tape behind that hat to pop it up. Because I like the little dimension. So just make sure you line up that top peak of the hat. So, and then we can add the other elements. The hard part's pretty much done. So now it's just to figure out how you want to put everything on the card. Again, you wouldn't have to use the congrats. You could use whatever you want. If you could have another, like a school logo or something would be good instead of stars. So I'm going to put a star there, but a school logo would be good right there. Or to the left. Just make sure you don't go above the top of the card, else it won't fit in the envelope. So that's what I would do if I was making it specifically. I'd probably do a print and cut of the school logo. It's always fun to personalize the card that way, or put a year. The year would look good down one of those little skinny panels too. A little print and cut. So just adding the congrats at the bottom. I know I'm off camera a little bit, but just making sure it's just on the card and above the bottom edge of the card. And then you can just strategically place the stars. The only thing I have to warn you about is that don't get the star too close to the edge of where the diploma pops up, to the far left of it, because it will kind of get stuck on it when it's opening. I did that with the first card I did, and it kind of gets stuck because it hits the edge. So whatever feels good to you at this point is where you want to add things. If you want to add stars, add stars. If you don't, then add whatever else you'd like. And I also added a little top, like little enamel dot on the top of the hat for dimension later on. I didn't show it in the video. So this is just however he feels. Obviously, I was undecided. But that would look good too. You always cut another star. So let's get this finally down here. Me being undecided. And I didn't have this in mind for anybody in particular, but I know blue and yellow gold is used for a lot of schools. So the only other thing I added to this card is we have a free gift card sleeve that's available on our website, and I do have an optional message panel for the back, but I'm going to add this little sleeve, and you can put it sideways or like that. I prefer it up and down, so you can put a gift card in there and still add a message to the back. But if you had a dark color card, there is a optional panel that you can cut out on the back in white or off-white or something, depending on what color you want. So a lot of people give gift cards to graduates. So just adding that as an idea if you were looking for something like that. So that's it. If you've never done a wiper card, they're kind of fun, and I know a graduate would love it. I had fun making this card. It was a bit of a challenge for me on my first one, but I think I like how it came out. And I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you for watching.